Hello, everyone. Jax West here. Said we'd go live in gossip tonight so we could talk about Making a Murderer 2 being released on October 19th. So I will wait for y'all to get on here and say what you want to say. And how long I stay on here depends on how many people come on and have questions or comments to go through. Hey, Chris. And hello, Laura. So, yeah, just the other day we got the news that Making a Murderer 2 will be out on Friday, October 19th. And typically when stuff goes on Netflix, you can start watching it as of like 12:01 a.m. Amy is going to be coming and staying with me for the weekend because she wants to watch it, but she doesn't want to watch it by herself because it's going to be really hard for her to see, because she was very attached to Brendan, and it's been hard what she has to witness family doing to Brendan and the courts doing to Brendan. So she wanted to watch with me. So Amy and I will binge it, and when we're done watching it, we will then go live. We'll do a live on the Stephen Avery Project public page where we have to be PC. And then we'll also do a live in here in Gossip. So we can no holds barred our opinion on what we saw. Amy may be in Making a Murderer 2. She had to sign a contract with them, and they interviewed her several times, but they also were supposed to notify her in advance of when it was going to be released and send her an advance copy, and she hasn't heard anything. So we don't know if that means they're just not sending it out or she's cut out of it. So either way, we'll discuss our opinion on it. Denise says, when's the next court date? Any idea yet? No. We're supposed to hear something from the courts on November 4th, I believe, on Stevens. I don't know exactly what that all is going to entail. As I say over and over again, not a lawyer. Don't pretend to be. And I'm advocating for a couple different of Kathleen's cases, that stuff is happening in all of them right now. So I also just get really confused on which case is doing what. So like in her Melissa Kaluzinski case, we were waiting for the Illinois Supreme Court to rule. Whoops, I just dropped the thing I was playing with. And we just found out on Tuesday or Wednesday. Sorry, I'm distracted now trying to pick this chip clip up that I was playing with in my hands. We just found out on Tuesday or Wednesday that she has been denied. And it was a day after Melissa's dad's birthday. And Melissa's birthday is actually on Thursday next week. So the family is extremely upset right now. And Zellner has said in that case, she's just going to be going to the federal court and they have to take Melissa's case. So, and then in her other case, Kent Pellegrini, we're supposed to hear something on his case on November 13th. So again, yeah, I can't ever remember for sure what each case is doing. Yeah, I'm not the smartest and lose track. Rita says, can't wait to binge it. Yeah. But something I want to say about that, and this is not on you, Rita. You just reminded me of that. So, like, you know that our page, Stephen Avery Project, is the biggest Making a Murderer Facebook page. And so one of the moderators posted the announcement that of the release date. And so the last time I looked at that post, I suppose I can look on this other screen over here now while I'm talking to you, if this one's going to work, and open this up so I can actually do it. No, I can't take your call, Nate. Sorry. Let me pull this up over here. But so on that post where she posted the, come on, scroll down. Sorry, it's taking me a little while to scroll down. Ew, I hate when I pass the videos that my face is in. There it is. Okay, so when Patty posted this on September 25th at 9:54 a.m., it now, as of right now, has 621,657 people have seen that post. 5.2 thousand people have clicked an emoji, you know, to like it. There's 3,000 comments on it and 3.2 thousand shares. So we get so many people that they're concerned about the documentary, you know, and I get it that people are excited to watch it. The thing that I want y'all to remember is that these are real people. And so to not just be about watching this documentary like it's just a show, and remember Stephen and Brendan, you know, write Stephen and Brendan a letter, or donate to Kathleen Zellner, something like that, you know, because if you really love Making a Murderer, these 621,000 people, you know, please help these people. You know, I understand that everybody has money and you don't want to just dump money there, but then write them a letter, you know, something. Don't just think about it as a show. Right, there's my one little going off. Chris says, I'm excited to see behind the scenes with Zellner's team, the awesome minds at work. Yeah, I know, you know, and it's really weird for me on a lot of it is because her office, I say this all the time, but I say this all the time, is 5 minutes from my house. So like when I go run errands, I pass right by the office building. And it's a really big office building, so I don't even have to be right there. And you see it in the distance, you know, and she's not in Chicago. We are in the suburbs. We are in the western suburbs. So she's right here. And I actually once even went to the office. I didn't have a meeting with her or anything. I just went once when it, you know, just to go see. So I even have those pictures posted somewhere of when I walked into the, and now I'm a crazy stalker fan person. But I walked in and I took pictures of the plate, you know, that's saying it's the Zellner office. And then I took the elevator up, and then I went in the waiting room of her office and took pictures in there. Yeah, I know. I'm pathetic. So, but yeah, I am looking forward to seeing it. While Amy is anxious and upset, you know, Amy's more of the mama bear, I guess, than me. You know, Amy's the loving nurturer person, and I'm the one go fuck yourself person. Not that Amy is incapable of telling people to go fuck themselves, but I'm the big asshole. So I'll be taking notes as I watch it. That's what I do every time I've written an article. like when I go to court, or when I've watched like the piece of shit Dr. Phil and write up a review, so I take notes to, make sure I'm covering everything there. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll have a notebook and I will take notes throughout all the episodes, and then we'll have everything to discuss afterwards. Laura says, hi, Jax. I made it on time today. Woohoo, Laura. Christy says, November 5th will be the day they're filing. The filing from KZ is due by. Thank you, Christy. Christy is our expert here that always picks up on whatever I drop, to get everything covered. Christy and Rita are commenting on my little rant when I was saying, remember, these are real people, not just a TV show. And that includes the Hallback family. I know sometimes we want to get mad at them because why aren't they looking for the truth? I get that. But always remember, at the end of the day, no matter what your theory is on what happened to Teresa, those people lost their loved one. So, we don't want to attack them, and you need to remember that, because while Stephen and Brendan are in prison, their families can go visit them if they want, or when they want a photo op. They can't go visit Teresa. So Sharon says, Brendan and I do right to each other. He is a gentle soul. Yes, he is. He's a sweet boy. Chris says, I live right near Downers Grove too. You do? I'm in Lisle. I'm by 355 in Ogden. So, hello, neighbor. Oh, now I look at the next one. What town are you in? Yep, I'm in Lisle. Christy, I really wanted the next season to show them being released. Watching will be heartbreaking. One of the moderators here, I think is it one of the moderators here, or just somebody who's a supporter, Lisa? And I don't know if either one of them are on here right now, but one of them has said they don't want to watch it until they're released. But chances are you're not going to be able to stay away. But I get what they're saying. Pam says, I'm looking forward to making Murder 2, but I know it will be gut-wrenching watching Brendan's many disappointments. I don't think the documentarians have any visits with Brendan, because maybe they have talked to him on the phone. I don't know. I've never heard of them having any contact with him. But the thing, I gotta think about my words carefully here, because it's also something that sometimes when you say something and then it makes you cry, and that's what this has the possibility of doing to me. And I got to be the big, hard, tough bitch right here. But when Brendan's conviction was overturned that August, it's very hard for me that people were making it out to him like it was a done deal and he was getting out. Family members, his mother. So he gave away all his stuff because he really thought he was coming home. So that would be something that if they had video of that, of Brendan now finding out that he's not going home. And then also something that made me really upset is that his mom didn't go see him. Was it August? No, I can't remember. But anyway, she went hunting with Scott instead, Wouldn't you, if that was your child and they're just getting this horrible news, wouldn't you move mountains? Oh, here I am using move mountains, KZ. Wouldn't you move mountains to go there and want to be there? Why would you go on a freaking hunting trip? Well, because you're a piece of shit mother, right? So that will really get me, Christy, if they show that Brendan was really led to believe that this was it. He was going home and gave away all his stuff and then now has to be told he's still there. And Pam. Oh, Chris, you're in Elmhurst. I was born and raised in Villa Park. And my family still lives there. Oh, and Christy has been to Elmhurst and had a friend there. Small world. Laura says, I'm originally from the Schaumburg area and moved to north central Wisconsin. They do talk about it in my little town here. Aha, Schaumburg. Yep. Rita, just awful. My heart is breaking. Right? Yeah. Christy, this is Barb you are talking about. I know. Christy continues with, you can almost guarantee they will show that. They're going to let you know that happened, but I'm talking if we actually see Brendan. I mean, maybe even them just talking about it will get me. I don't know, because that's horrible. Stephen handles the stuff better. Yeah, all right, let's stop thinking about that. Oh, and Pam says, I didn't mean to make you sad. Now I have a lump in my throat. Barb is a piece of shit. Yeah, she is. Because I would have been there. Had I still been in contact with Brendan, because when Barb cut off my contact from Brendan, that prior weekend, Barb had told me that she had given her blessing and I was being put on his visitors list. I would have been there. And that's one of the things that really sucks with Amy, is because Amy just wants to be there for Brendan. And Amy thinks that any time that Brendan can get out of his cell and have a visitor, that's a good thing, right? Shouldn't that be a good thing? But Barb looks at it as competition. You know, Barb's not going during the week. Barb only goes on the weekend. So Amy was going to go on a weekday. So it's not going to interfere with Barb's weekend visit. So wouldn't it be better if Brendan had multiple visits throughout the week, not just Barb's visit on the weekend? So I absolutely would have been there. I have visited Kent Pellegrini in prison, and he wants me to come next month. Kent doesn't want a whole lot of visits, so he told me he wants me to come next month. And then I haven't talked about this before. I've also visited Melissa Kaluzinski in prison. So I go when they want me to go and visit them. So I absolutely would have been there for Brendan that day. But his family doesn't care. Chris says, Barb wasn't there when Brendan's bad news was delivered. That speaks volumes of what kind of person she is. Right? Yeah. You know, I'm sure they didn't know that news was coming in, but as soon as I found out about it, I would have been driving to that prison. I would want to be there and comfort my child. And she didn't. She went hunting instead. Hi, Connie. Chris says, do you think Bobby will be in Making a Murderer too? I don't think it will be like him talking to the documentarians at all. They'll probably just show pictures of them, you know, that they were able to obtain from whatever. You know, Bobby's Facebook is pretty open, so they could just go there and collect pictures from it and once you post a picture on social media, you can say it's your property, but it's not. It's fair game. So they'll probably do that, because they will have to address Bobby. So they'll show pictures of him, or they'll show stills of when he was testifying in the original trial. But they absolutely will have to talk about Bobby, since that's where a lot of the stuff that Zellner has obtained, where everything's pointing at. Connie says Barb cares about Barb and that her dirty secrets don't come out. Cheryl says mother of the year, she's not. Christy says, I think Bobby is keeping as low of a profile as possible. Yeah, he is. Amy's actually met Bobby. So when we do our Facebook Live next month after we watch the new season, Amy can tell you all about her experiences of when she met Bobby and his wife and all that. Connie says, remember the phone call where she called him her little turkey, trying to be loving, and he was so confused? That told me so much about her. She knew they were being recorded, and she was trying to show she was someone she wasn't, and his reaction proved she's not a good mom. Yeah, you're right, because it was an odd thing, Connie. Yeah, the way it all was. And then Connie continues with, Bobby and Scott did this, no doubt to me. Yeah, all my doubt is gone. Okay, sorry. Making sure my dog was actually chewing on a bone and not something they shouldn't be. So unless Zellner's got something else up her sleeve, because at times she did point at Ryan Hilgas, but that's just to show that there were viable other suspects that were never even considered. So yeah, everything points to Bobby and Scott did this. It makes the most sense. Pam says, wonder if that lovely phone call will make it on Making a Murderer too. I think it will be. I do know that Barb has thrown fits about Making a Murderer too, and tried to demand things. Like she demanded, remember we've gone over that Barb hates Carla, then Barb will tolerate Carla, then they hate each other, then they tolerate each other, back and forth and back. So, and all Carla cares about is getting recognized, because who else puts on a page going, you can see me in Making a Murderer at this episode at this time? That's pathetic. So Carla's just all about, look at me, look at me, look at me. So Carla is desperate to get on that. And Barb threw a fit at one point when Carla was trying to manipulate her way into the documentary. And she told the documentarians that she would not film any longer if they filmed Carla and put her in it. And at that time, I spoke often with Brendan's lawyers. And I was friends with Barb at that time. So they asked me, and here's an exclusive. I don't think I've ever gone public with this before, because I don't know if technically I should, if I'm supposed to talk about this stuff. The lawyers told me to talk Barb into still filming with Making a Murderer, because the lawyers feel that is a huge benefit to Brendan's case. So I talked to Barb, and she started talking with them again. But yeah, because I don't think Barb's little fits will control what they put in and what they don't, especially with what direction all the evidence is pointing now. So that phone call is a pretty big deal. And they talk to Stephen at least once a month on the phone. So they may have, questioned Stephen about that call as well. So you'll hear Stephen talk about that call. Sand asks if she missed anything big. No, I just, we did the Facebook Live on the Stephen Avery project to talk about that the new season was coming out. And so I said I would also do one in gossip because that's where we can get into the dirt, the gossip. And I had originally said I would do it the very next day, but I've got a job right now. I work in politics. Okay, didn't know what my dog was looking at. And so with the midterm election right around the corner here, things are a little crazy for me. So so this was the soonest I could put more time to, yes, Christy, because I talk forever, that I could block out a bunch of time because, Friday night and I don't have anything to do except for I have to be at one of my protests at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Yeah, you didn't miss anything. We're just talking about that. The new season they announced will be out on October 19th. And then just talking about all the same old bullshit. Kim says, Barb's hair cracks me up. Doesn't it? She looks really bad. And, I know they're not attractive people. And this isn't me just taking shots at them because I don't like them. I'm a tell it how it is person, so please don't think I'm thinking I'm a supermodel. I completely know I'm fat and I'm old and not attractive. Who cares? But she looks way worse than she should for her age. I mean, I know she smokes and, all that, but and then, yeah, that hair. Lisa, I am just on pins and needles waiting for the day to come when they are released. I know. Well, don't be on those pins and needles because you could be on them for a while because our system sucks. Sharon says, sorry, God, coming. I did not know until today that the RAV4 was in custody of the cops 2 days before it was on the salvage yard. Is this true? It's because something is dated with that. So did somebody write the wrong date down or did they have it the 2 days? And if they weren't such corrupt fucks that you have to second guess and doubt every fucking thing, now I'm going to swear a lot more. So sorry if people are offended by language, but this is gossip, so I can swear, right? If law enforcement and everything was how we expect it to be, that, these are true and honor, it's supposed to be an honorable profession and they're supposed to care about getting to the truth, you would go, oh yeah, that was just a typo. I mean, we all do typos all the time, right? Or confused dates, or I even once, not that long ago, like I was signing into a doctor's office and I had to write the date and I wrote 2017, but because of everything they've done, when you have something like that, you can't just go, oh, it was probably just a mistake on putting down the date. It's you corrupt fucks. So, curiouser and curiouser. Connie says, I think by the time this is all said and done, KZ will prove who did this. I agree. I think she obviously knows who did it. It's just a matter of working our system so she can get that evidence out there. And then that our courts will rule according to the evidence and not protecting their thin blue line and wanting to keep an innocent man in because they don't want their cops to be liable. Connie says, it will be the only way to free the boys. Yep. Chris says, I honestly think Making a Murderer 2 will focus more on legalities and not anything like MAM1, showing the corruption, etc. Yeah, because there's so much. It would be nice, too, that, because I know the documentarians, they are so smart. So maybe they will be able to explain our screwed up system in a way that will register in my stupid brain, so I will understand this all going here and now denied and then back down here and then going back to here and then going to here and then being kicked back down to here. I don't get it. Connie says, can you tell me this? Has Steven said anything about all the other missing girls in the area? It is something that I said to him last time one of the times I talked to him. Now, I haven't heard from Steven in a while, in over a month, I think. So I haven't talked to him anywhere near recently. But I did mention to him one time because when I was talking to him, oh, that's my dog there. When I was talking to him, it was when one of the Stephen Avery Project moderators was really convinced that one missing girl, and they have that sketch, and that guy's got that tattoo on his arm that looks a lot like Bobby's, so she was trying to piece it to that. So I did bring it up to him, and he didn't really say anything on it. He just laughed about it, So I don't know what he thinks currently. Connie says, stress will make a person look bad, right? Yeah. The guilt. Chris says, I have great eyes. Oh, thank you. I actually like my eyes. Let me just talk about myself for a minute. I have hazel eyes. So I think the color of my eyes are really, really pretty. So I do like the color of my eyes. And then I've got this weird scar on my face. And then a bag under this one. So this one here looks more like the scar than this one does. But whatever. I am what I am. Christy, guilt, stress, dishonesty, and living with a murderer will do that to you, right? Yeah. And your son being a murderer and now having children. Chris says, not offended by swearing, I'm way worse. Oh, I'm way, way worse too. I'm reining it in. I have a really bad mouth. Christy says, yeah, unfortunately, every single typo is scrutinized and they have no one to blame but themselves. Mm-hmm. Cheryl says, swear all you want. I'm comfortable with it. Well, thank you, Cheryl. Christy says, I still think she has been in the garage. Christy, who has been in the garage? KZ? In what was Barb's garage, it is now Chuck's garage. Yeah, I would think she's gone there, especially when, she was pointing out the whole deer thing. Connie says, have to have an honest judge. Yeah, well, it seems like that's hard to find there up in Manitowoc. And with how this one's related to this one and this one. So like Judge Fox in Brendan's case, when he was a lawyer, he represented Scott Toddick in something. And then he also Jerome Fox also belongs to the same hunting club that Scott and Bobby belong to. Sharon says, after reading documents, I have learned what Brady and Denny motion means, but do you know what en banc means? I don't recall right now, Sharon. And usually what I do when I have a question about things is on my personal Facebook page. I have, since I work in politics, I have a lot of lawyers. And I have one judge and a lawyer who's running for judge on my personal Facebook page. And so when I have a question about something, I just post it and go, can you explain this to me, how I can understand it? So yeah, I don't remember what NBank means. Christy, what does NBank mean? She'll know. Connie says, I have an outline I submitted to KZ. There is a gap in the time of the missing girls, only when Bobby met his wife and kids born when it stopped. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, Christy, yeah. So Barb, now Chuck's garage. Yeah, I agree. Janet, I don't understand why they don't allow Kathleen and her experts to examine the RAV4. I don't either. Because how is that a fair and impartial trial? Does anybody know, did Strang and Buting ever even attempt to do anything with the RAV4? Were they blocked from it? Or did they not even try? Or did they just take what Sweaty Sweat told them as gospel? Christy, definition. Oh, thank you. See? So she posted that even before I asked her to do it. So NBank is some appeals courts which have a large number of judges and a large caseload often divide into divisions or panels for each case. For example, United States appeals courts cases are usually heard by 3 judge panels. Yeah, so, okay, yeah. So I went to Brendan's NBank, or however you say it, and so there were only 3 judges there who then, that's how 2 out of the 3 ruled in Brendan's favor, and then the state asked it to go to the full court, whatever that's called, so then it went to 5, right? I think it was 5 judges then, and then Brendan lost upon going to the 5. Chris says, when is Len getting his sentence? They should be coming soon for stalking and meowing. Chris, I have been doing work stuff all day, but I did see I got an email because I have Google alerts on so many different things on the case. And so I did get an email at some point on he pled not guilty today or something like that. So I'll have to, when I get time, I haven't even gone through any of my email today, and see what that is. Or Christy will now look it up. Connie says, LOL, Chris, I was just going to ask that. Kimberly said, do you talk to KZ often? No, I have only spoken to KZ once, and that's when I was attending Melissa Kaluzinski's case. And I made these wristbands that say, I don't know how to do this. I'm so bad at this. Justice for Melissa, and then Melissa's Army. And so while we were waiting for court to go in session and we're outside of it, I went up to Kathleen and her team and I gave them all a wristband. So all I said was, hi, I'm Jackson. Would you like one of these wristbands? And she said yes. And so then while, and she did put it on, I was surprised. I didn't think she'd be able to wear it while, whatever you want to call it. Well, you know, she was working in court, but she did. She had it on. And then I was sitting right behind her and Doug, one of her associates, with Melissa's parents. But so that is all I have physically said to her. All my other contacts with Kathleen is my contact with Kathleen is email. And then I talk on occasion to people in her office. And then with one of her other cases, Kent Pellegrini, Kathleen hasn't been lead chair or whatever you call it on that, that's been dug. And so Kent, because Kathleen changed her phone system due to the haters and everything. So now when you call her office, when you call in, you can't just like leave a message. Sorry. You have to press 1 for this or whatever. So when Kent wants to call his representation, the prison, he's not allowed to dial. So he can't do that. So now he mailed Doug and told Doug that he wants me to be his go-between between him and Zellner's office. So now if he wants to talk to his lawyers, Kent calls me and then I contact the lawyers to tell them to call Kent. So, but again, I'm not dealing with Kathleen on that. She's very, very busy, obviously. She has a big team. And, I know everybody loves to see her Twitter posts or tweets or what, I don't Twitter, so it's called tweets, right? She's not the one. If people think she's the one that's posting those, she's got a team for that. Just like here I am in politics world, and there's a team for everything. So, there's a social media team. So my candidate isn't the one making those posts. The social media director or organizer, however they word it, is doing that. Like my title is I'm a field organizer. So I'm out there organizing events for the candidates and so phone banks and canvassing and stuff that candidate events. So like I have 3 candidate events next week, so that's what a field organizer does. Okay, Christy says, oh, okay, she's talking to somebody else, so I don't need to read that. And then somebody replying, them going back and forth. Savannah says, I'm just excited for part 2. Yeah, it's a long time coming. And this MAM gossip may be the place that you're going to want to come to really get your information, because Stephen Avery project being as big as it is, the traffic once that comes out is going to be insane. So posts are going to be, so like if you're replying to a thread on Stephen Avery project, there's going to be so many posts that get put on there. It's going to be hard to keep up. The moderators and I, since the part 2 thing was posted on our page, we've talked about, oh my God, our phones were going crazy because every time somebody clicks to like it or anytime somebody comments and all of that, we get a notification from it. And so, like I said earlier, 621,000 people have 621,657 people have read that article. 3,000 people have commented. 5.2 thousand people have liked it. And it's been shared 3.2 thousand times. We're notified for all of that. And so I even made a post on my personal Facebook page telling people if you're trying to get a hold of me here or I run a couple other pages too. I'm sorry if I don't get your notification, because like when I would click on my notifications and you would try to see it, it just kept scrolling because more kept going. And so then you would try and scroll down so you could get to all of it. And then it wouldn't even allow you to go as far down, as far, as old as the new stuff was. So I'm sure I missed a ton. So this group, as of right now, Gossip, is a smaller, it's a smaller little community since we have, the doors are closed. And most people who go to Stephen Avery Project, they just want, the updates on the case. They don't want all this other stuff. So this shouldn't be a high traffic area that will be going crazy. Rebecca says, how long has Making a Murderer 2 been filming for? They started filming, I believe, not long after the first season became a smash hit. So yeah, so they've been filming since then. That was 2016, right? November 2016, is that when it came out? Or was it November 2015? I mean, December 2015. Can't remember. Bad with numbers. Oh, and Whitney's there answering. Rebecca, at least 2 years. I'm pretty sure they started after Making a Murder took off. We didn't think it was going to be as big of a hit as it was. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's huge. And then so other cases want that treatment too. And I feel really bad because the Melissa Kaluzinski case is the one I'm actually closest to, because they live in my state. The family is very loving and accepting of my presence. So I see them a lot. I talk to Paul, the father, almost every day. I was added as a moderator of Melissa's page, and Melissa's page is run by her Aunt Helen. Helen started that page forever and has been, she doesn't know how to wade her way through all this bullshit, and she's doing a spectacular job with that case. And so I think it was the day after the announcement of Making a Murderer 2 came out, Helen's daughter, Dawn, so Melissa's cousin, posted a rant on there about, I don't get why Melissa's case doesn't get the attention that Stephen Avery's does. And I posted a response on it to try and explain it, but I also get it, because not that they don't care about Stephen Avery, because they know he's innocent too, but they also don't give a fuck about Stephen Avery. Melissa is their concern, and they know that Melissa is innocent. And, so why doesn't Melissa's case get the attention that Stephen's does? And so, Melissa's case has been covered by 48 Hours, the CBS show, twice, so it has gotten some national attention, but nothing on, like Stephen's case has. And so, it hurts the family because they want people to know about their case and to care about their case and try and help their case. Oh, it's hard. Okay, Janet says, KZ said Stephen has an airtight witness on the night of the murder. Do you know what this means? I saw somebody post about this. It might have even been you, Janet. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up on that. So I know it was somebody, but I haven't looked into that on what exactly the context of that is, on what that witness is. So when I have a second that I can donate to looking into this, or Christy, or if any of the moderators are on here, if you want to explain it, if you've looked into it, please do. So no, I don't know what that means. I need to see exactly what it is and what the context, so was it as simply as meaning Brendan, that Brendan was there, or, he talked to Jody several times. So is she just going off of those things that we already know? Or is there something completely different that we don't know of? Because just like Stephen didn't remember that he had seen Scott Toddock's truck there earlier in the day with Bobby until years later when you're thinking about it, because you don't remember every little thing. So did something just come to light? Because from the times I talked to Stephen, he had said that, witnesses kept coming forward. So did somebody else come forward? I don't know. Sharon says, I've always been bothered by the non-emotions showed by the Hallbacks. I know we all grieve differently, but it did bother me. I get what you're saying. And then also you're saying, everybody grieves differently. So is it a family where they've been raised with crying is a weakness and you don't do, that kind of thing? So was it that or what? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm not going, I don't judge them off of that. I judge them on, if you look at all the evidence and all the documents, because that's what I would do if this was my family case, you see the holes in this and that it's not Stephen. And I would want to know exactly who it was. So I fault them for that, because even if at the beginning I understand them thinking it was Stephen, that's what they were told, and on paper I can see people thinking that, but I still would have been looking into it on my own, wanting to know everything there was to know. And it doesn't look like they are. Kimberly says, maybe with Making Murderer 2 out, that maybe it will help Stephen's case in some way. Absolutely. It is the biggest advocate for him, because look at what the first one got him. The first one got him Kathleen. He had been trying to get Kathleen for a while, and she didn't take his case. So she did not take his case until January of 2016, since I see the very next thing is Christy posted that it was December 2015 that Making Murder came out. So Kathleen didn't take the case until first week of January of 2016. So she only took it because of now seeing Making a Murderer. So, and Kathleen, makes no bones about it that she only takes cases that she thinks that they're, or not thinks, knows they're innocent. So, yeah, so this has got to help him. And one of the moderators said December 2015 too. Connie says, I don't know Melissa's case. This is Making a Murderer Gossip, not Stephen Avery Project. So I can give you a little synopsis of it. And her Facebook page, I never remember the names of all these pages because they're always very similar. It's like the official Family Justice for Melissa Kaluzinski page or something like that. So Melissa Kaluzinski she was 22 years old, and she had just started working at a daycare. Her sister Crystal also worked at that daycare. And Melissa, like Brendan, has a lower IQ. Like I said, I've met her now, and so she doesn't have as low of an IQ as Brendan, but like Brendan, she's just the sweetest, most loving person. So she was working in the baby room, and so Ben was 13 months old, and he was sitting in his bouncy chair, one of those things that, the baby kicks their feet and it bounces the chair. And Melissa noticed that he was turning blue and foam coming out. So Crystal came in the room and was trying to give the child CPR. 911 was called. Ben was transported to the hospital, and he died. It's again, I know things about the case that I don't know if I can go public with, and I'm trying to remember what I can say and what I can't. Melissa was questioned for hours and hours, like Brendan was. on the 48-hour special, you can see her say, and I think they even have a count in there on how many times Melissa said, I didn't have anything to do with this. What you don't see is that when she called her father, a cop was in the background screaming at Melissa with Paul on the phone, and he called Melissa, the cop called Melissa a bitch. And Paul about lost his mind. And yes, Melissa was 22, so she is an adult, but Paul did tell them at that time that you stop talking to my daughter right now. You are not going to call my daughter a bitch. You stop talking to her. I've called a lawyer, and they then, I believe, hung up on Paul and then continued questioning her and did well, we know it was an accident. Just say it was an accident and you'll go home. And so then Melissa said she dropped him. And then they would have her demonstrate on how she dropped this baby. And so then Melissa was arrested. She had no clue now by saying this meant she was going to be arrested. Now there's a car stopped in front of my house. Why are you looking at my house? I'm on a dead end street, so it's like, what are you doing there? Anyway, so when it went to trial, she did not have Kathleen originally. They doctored the x-rays of the boy. And the state also testified saying that he had a crack, a fracture in his skull, and that the coroner felt the crack in when he did the autopsy. And so the defense, the x-rays that they were provided were blacked out, so you couldn't see it. And this was the only evidence they had. Then once Kathleen came on the scene, well, it was Paul, because Paul is, he is what you would expect Barb to be as a parent of a child wrongfully convicted in prison. He lives this case every day. He does everything he can to try and free his daughter. He has done protests. Melissa is like his world. And he can't let this go. And so he's constantly digging stuff up. And so somebody contacted him on the sly and informed him where the real x-rays were. And so Zellner got those x-rays. And when you look at them, you can see that Ben's head, his skull, looked like a giant light bulb. Okay? So what he died of was brain swelling. And there was no fracture. So this coroner who testified saying they physically felt a fracture on this kid's skull lied, because there's nothing there. And so this kid was a known headbanger, where if he was on the floor, he would whip himself back and hit the back of his head. So I can't remember the timing of it, but there was something wrong with him at the daycare, that the daycare actually called the parents a couple weeks before or whatever. And and Melissa didn't even work there at the time. And the kid had a noticeable lump on his head and everything. And so there is documentation of the kid going to the doctor and everything about this. And then the doctor really didn't do anything about it. So now when you see the real x-rays, the kid died. His brain was swelling from a hit, a fall, or whatever. A while before, his brain couldn't swell up like that. Like his whole skull is like this. In an hour, if Melissa had dropped that baby. So, and then there's a whole lot of, this is in Lake County, Illinois. There's a whole lot of corruption there, a whole lot of lying. So like, there was another coroner that looked at it, all this stuff, and he's the one that also, has the actual x-rays. And so he changed the death certificate from homicide to unknown. And so then Lake County went after him. And so he's no longer coroner because they went after him. And then there's also a police officer who sided with Melissa's side of the case, and he's lost his job. So it's all this corruption and all, yeah. So there's 2 48 Hours episodes on Melissa's case, and Kathleen Zellner is in them. The first one is called Blaming Melissa, and the second one is called Fight for Melissa. So you can watch those. They're only an hour each. And they're done years apart with, a little update on her case. I think the most recent one was just came out last year. So that's Melissa Kalusinski's case. Kalusinski. Okay, I don't know what that is. Sorry. All right, and now I'll scroll back down. One of the moderators says, I haven't looked into the witness thing yet, but we'll look into it and post in this group. Thank you. Christy says, I believe that it was in a tweet she posted. I have not heard anything else about it other than seeing someone post it in one of the groups. Thank you, Christy. Roll says, am I saying that correctly? So correct me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Couldn't all the twittering of KZ be actually damaging to her case with judges getting irritated by this? Yes, it could. And also there are people who, they don't want to like Kathleen anyway because, they're jealous of her success and don't like a woman being a leader. So they'll say this all looks unprofessional of the tweets and stuff she does. But I know there are things like when I've attended court cases. So like Kent Pellegrini's case. Kent's favorite color is baby blue. And so when I went to one of his hearings, I had made light blue ribbons that I passed out to his friends and family to wear in support of him. But then we were told we can't wear them inside the courtroom because the judge will take offense to that and get all pissy. So there's things like that all the time. So it could hurt her. Yes. But I think she calls their bluff on that. I don't know. Sand says Stephen's case was on Netflix, and also he had already been through this before and lost 18 years of his life. That's why it's such a big deal. Oh, I agree. And that's why the documentarians. It is a big deal, and it should be a big deal. But there's, I'm just talking for families of other people whose family members are in prison wrongfully accused. And especially you got to think about, the Kalusinski and the Pellegrini families whose loved ones are also represented by Kathleen. Sometimes they feel like their case is getting pushed around for Stephen's case, so I get it. Rita, I hadn't heard about Melissa's case until I started following you, and now I joined her group as well. Well, thank you, Rita. Connie said no cameras in the daycare. No, I can't remember what year that was. Melissa's been in prison for 9, almost 10 years now. So no, they didn't have any cameras in there at that time. And that daycare had to go out of business because the parents sued and got a couple million out of it. And so it no longer exists. Hazel says, Brendan Dassey is the saddest case of evil injustice. It really, yeah, it's horrible. Christy says, I found an article from March 2016 where she says Stephen has airtight alibi. I cannot find where it was posted recently. Maybe someone else knows something. Connie says, where is Melissa located? She is in Lincoln, Illinois. And so down in southern Illinois, you know, it's not far from Springfield. So for me, it's from my house, it's like a 2.5 to 3 hour drive, depending on our traffic and construction. And Kent Pellegrini is in Taylorville, Illinois, which is down that way as well. Sharon says, why is Melissa still being denied if there is evidence showing differently? Again, sorry, I'm trying to think about what I can say here. Well, it's like no different than like in Stephen's case. You know, there's evidence that show differently, and the judges just refuse it, to see it, you know, to have to overturn their own call. Connie says Lake County is up by Chicago. Yeah, it's, yeah, I'm in DuPage County. Lake County is that way from me. Yeah, so it's not, yeah, it's near Chicago. Jeffrey Levine. There's a lawyer here in Illinois named Jeffrey Levine. Well, if you're asking about Melissa's, Blaming Melissa and Fight for Melissa, will they be on YouTube? Yes, they are. So you can just look up Blaming Melissa or Fight for Melissa or 48 Hours Blaming Melissa. I know it's up there, like multiple versions. And so, you know, like everything on YouTube, some suck and some don't. So, you know, so yeah, you can find it there. Connie says, in 2015 alone, 149 innocent people were released from prison. Wow. Most convicted due to corruption. Our system is so messed up. Thank you. Rule. All right, I can remember that because you rule, right? Oh, Connie's in Alton, Illinois. So yeah, so then you're north, right? I'm really bad with this stuff. And I believe now I've caught up to everybody. And there's just 18 people on, and I've been on for an hour. So I'll probably be calling it a day with this so I can now, everything else is, I've got 36 Facebook notifications, 1 Facebook message, and 2 friend requests while I've been on here. Plus I had a call from one of the people from my candidates and all this. So I've got miscellaneous other things to try and get done tonight before I have to be, I have a protest at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And then I also have to be at a training for my job at 9:30 in Chicago tomorrow morning. So cutting it close. Let me scroll down. Has Melissa's dad moved closer to her? No. They're still, the family's still in Carpentersville, in the same house they lived in with Melissa. And they have her dog Oreo because Melissa had a puppy at that time. So they've been raising Oreo for Melissa. And actually Oreo now has not, you know, Oreo's 10 years old now, 10, 11 years old. He's had his moments health-wise. And so that's another big concern for the family, to get Melissa home for Oreo. Melissa, this last year, both of her grandmothers died. So she wasn't able to see her grandparents, her grandmas, and then they didn't allow her to attend their services because they said it would be too expensive for her to go. So, yeah. So no, they live in their same home. Melissa's parents are doing very bad financially. When this thing all started, her dad, Paul, owned his own business. And I think, I don't know if it was when Melissa was arrested or when she was found guilty. His landlord, where he rented for his shop, kicked him out, kicked his business out. And then the case itself cost them so much money. And then Paul has a lot of medical issues and is disabled and now can't work. So I don't think they could move if they wanted to at this point. I don't think they could afford it. So yeah, it's really, really tough for them. And so the drive for them to go see Melissa is 3 hours, 3.5 hours. And so it's, and now I learned from going with Paul, I have an SUV, which is, my car is 2009 that I bought at the end of 2008. And they have a little economical car. And actually, it costs me less in gas to go there than it does them. Their car's not as good on gas, I guess, as mine. So gas is really expensive. And then you have tolls. Here in Illinois, we've got a toll, seems like every 5 feet. And then when you visit somebody in prison, one of the big things is they get to eat stuff that they don't normally get to have in prison. So there's all these vending machines, that have, there's such a wide variety of stuff, so there's like fried chicken and, and there's a microwave that you can heat stuff up, and ice cream and candy and chips and pasta salad, you name it. But you can't just put money in them. You have a card. Is this in here? Let me see. No, it's not in here. Oh, it's out in my car. So, because I have one from Kent's prison. So you get a card, like a credit card, and you go to a machine like a ATM machine, and you put your cash in there, and it puts that money on your card. And you get to keep that card. So then every time you go to prison, you've got whatever money is on that card, or you put, more money on it. And so every vending machine you go to, you put that card in, and, because prisons are always making money off the inmates, however they can. So, and the stuff's not priced reasonable. So you go through a lot of money there. You typically are going to spend like $50 on food while you're there. So, so that makes it very hard. Plus, with all of Paul's medical conditions, the drive is hard for him. And I've learned my medical condition, I have degenerative disc disease. It was really hard on me as well. The drive there, and then you sit on that hard chair. I'm a princess. I need to be on a throne and have pillows for my, lumbar, because my back gets really, really bad. So he can't handle it. So he can't even visit her for that long because his body can't take it. Okay, Janet says, the airtight witness was a comment someone made on the Stephen Avery project. Thank you, Janet. Mary or Marie says, good morning from Melbourne. Good day, mate. Connie says, south, down by St. Louis, Missouri. Aha, okay. A moderator says, nice job, Jax, as always. Thank you. Thank you to whichever moderator this is, since I don't know which one of you it is. Laura says, when Brendan or Stephen and Melissa have court appearance, do they travel back to the original jurisdiction of the case, or do they go to a courthouse by the prisons they are in? They don't get to go. So, yeah, so they have to just stay in prison and then wait for their lawyer to call them and tell them what happened. They won't transport them most of the time there. So, yeah, so the two hearings that I went to for Brendan they were here in Chicago. So he wasn't transported to that. Melissa's that I went to were in her original. She didn't get to go to those. And then Ken Pellegrini didn't get to go to his either. And then something else I've learned by doing this, advocating for these people, because I've never been arrested and have no experience with people in prison or jail or whatever. So when you see somebody that's in court and they're in that orange jumpsuit, that's because they're not allowing them to wear regular clothes, because you have to put in a request that they be allowed to have normal clothes on so they don't look like a criminal. And that request has to be in X amount of days or whatever prior to the hearing. So if you don't get it in on time, they're going to go in an orange jumpsuit, which just goes to making them look like a criminal. You want them to be able to be in a suit or a polo or button or, whatever. So that's just another tactic that gets used to make these people look bad. And as Stephen says, poor people lose all the time. If you don't have good representation, if you don't have the money to get a lawyer who's working for you, and you have to get the free one that's going to be appointed for you, the free one appointed to you works for the state, doesn't work for you. You're not paying that person, the state's paying that person. So that's why they're going to do, unless they're good, which we're seeing more and more that people aren't good, so unless it's a good one. So I don't want to say that public defenders are all horrible people, because I'm sure there are public defenders that truly care about, I know these people are innocent and I want to give them a good representation. But most times they're overworked and underpaid, and so they're not doing what's best for these clients. So they're not going to put in the request that they get to wear street clothes, so they're going to go in the orange jumpsuit or the striped jumpsuit or, whatever it is. So yeah, no, they don't get to go, which I think is bullshit, because aren't you supposed to be able to, what's the word, face your accuser or whatever? I don't know. So they should be able to be there. Hello, Jamie in Manitoba, Canada, and another Australia. Christy says, found it. Kathleen claims she has an airtight alibi for Stephen on the night of the 2005 murder in Wisconsin, and has taken to social media to condemn anyone who stands in her way, blasting the state for failing miserably to find her real killer. I think they're quoting something she said in 2016. Okay. So, all right, I am going to sign off. Something for you to see. I don't know if you can see here or read it, but I went and voted today. Early voting started here in Illinois yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. So everybody needs to go vote. And if you don't like getting calls from candidates, volunteers, and you don't want them knocking on your doors, if you go vote, that goes on record. And so the people won't call you or go stop at your house anymore. So go early vote. It took me 10 minutes. And request a paper ballot. So you can just Google where's early voting and put your county there, and it'll come up and tell you where to go. So please go vote. Scrolling down to see the last one that just came in. San says, thanks for explaining about the jail suits. I've always wondered. I cry when I see Steven in that Monopoly suit. Yeah, so somebody actually has to request that within the time that it is. I don't remember the deadline, but I know that's something somebody in Kent's family was really concerned about, of making sure that that request went in, and then they didn't let him attend his own hearing. Christy says, have a great night, Jax. Yes, you too, Christy. Thank you, everybody. And time for my weird freeze frame phase.